Oh, yeah, yeah. Would you like some water? Yes. Uh-huh. If it's okay. I think we have enough time, yeah. Excellencies, dear guests, my name is Alexander Rothert. I'm the moderator of this panel on the Western Balkans. I'm a political advisor and analyst specialized on the Western Balkan region. This is the first part of two panels, the EU and the Western Balkans resolving unfinished business together. I would like to thank the Croatian government and especially Minister Grlić Radman for organizing this event and this special conference, and very important conference in beautiful Dubrovnik. Let me introduce today's participants. To my left, Ervin Ibrahimović, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Montenegro. Welcome. Then Minister Ferit Hoxha, Minister of European and Foreign Affairs of Albania. Welcome. Then Minister Elmedin Konaković, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then our host, Minister Gordan Grlić Radman, Minister of Foreign Affairs and European Affairs of Croatia. And next to him is Mrs. Jana Zovko, member of the European Parliament. And next to Mrs. Zovko is Mrs. Ulrike Hartmann, Special Envoy for Southeastern Europe and EU enlargement of the Federal Ministry of European and International Affairs of Austria. Welcome. And last but not least, Mr. Amer Kapetanović, Secretary General of the Regional Cooperation Council from Sarajevo. Welcome and thank you very much all for coming here. Allow me a few words at the beginning to illustrate some of the challenges and problems the region is currently facing. If you look outside, it is hard to believe and to imagine that just a few dozen kilometers from here to the east and also to the north, tensions have been rising for years. Just prior to the recent EU Western Balkan summit in Montenegro, a few weeks ago, a Serbian plane with 87 so-called activists landed in Tivat in Montenegro and was instantly returned by Montenegrin law enforcement. This could have led to a serious incident had Podgorica not intervened swiftly. Vijesti quoted Montenegrin Prime Minister Milojko Spajic as follows, quote, "For the first time in Montenegro, we have a mix of foreign factors and organized crime groups that are acting together against our country's European path. It's been like this for about 4 or 5 months, and the EU is helping to fight it. As I mentioned already, the tensions have been rising, and rising especially between Serbia on one side and its neighboring states, such as Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Montenegro, Kosovo, and even Albania. In June 2024, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić, together with Bosnian Serb ultranationalist, genocide denier, and secessionist Milorad Dodik, held a so-called all-Serb assembly in Belgrade, advocating for a Serbian word, Srpski svet, or Svijet, to be established following Slobodan Milosevic's plan for a greater Serbia in the 1990s, which was based on the Memorandum SANU of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts, which is exactly 40 years ago in 1986. President Vučić said in an interview just a few weeks ago, had Belgrade not radically built up its armed forces, Serbia, quote, would cease to exist within 48 hours. We would be eaten and swallowed whole if that weren't the case. One could argue the contrary, that Serbia has started an arms race in the Balkans in 2012 that leads to instability. Most recently, Belgrade received Chinese hypersonic missile systems that could even reach Zagreb from Serbia. Belgrade is still ignoring the EU sanctions against Russia, thus refusing itself to align with the EU's common foreign and security policy. Two examples, the flight connections from Serbia to Russia, and also issuing Serbian passports to Russian nationals. To add to this, in March this year, Vučić accused Croatia, Albania, and Kosovo of plotting against Serbia and preparing a joint military attack on Belgrade. And of course, this all undermines the good neighborly relations as the Montenegrin foreign ministry issued. 2 years ago, the Croatian foreign minister Goran Grlić-Radman called President Vučić a satellite of Russia. Since then, Serbia has been drifting even further towards Russia, but also especially China now. Minister Grlić-Radman, what do you think are Belgrade's and Vučić's intention, and what can Zagreb do to calm down this relatively tense situation?
First of all, and thank you very much and for having my colleagues from Western Balkans here. And what the foreign minister of Montenegro, Ervin, is here, El Medin, who just bought a ticket and for the Dubrovnik Forum, and such a joke, but so you mentioned then during your speech and 2 years ago, and so that Ferit Hoxha was not minister last year, but however we had an representative for Albania, and he is Željana Amerka Petanović, and whom I met also in Sofia, where we celebrated 30th anniversary of CECP and the process in Southeast Europe, and actually a 30th anniversary there. And remember, as I was number 2 in the Croatian embassy and in Sofia, and I was the only participant who just attended this SCP anniversary, and of course the lady from Austria. What I said last year, I can repeat it, and nothing changed in Croatian position in general. And Croatia is a member of EU, Croatia is a member of NATO, and we entered the Schengen zone, Eurozone, and we are on the way to achieve the OECD membership. What we need here, what we want to see, that's a stable neighborhood, and neighborhood to live in peace side by side, despite, of course, the legacy of work, which affects steadily and still the countries in the region. However, but I think so that we are ready, and as politicians, as also foreign ministers here, and your topic and your question is very interesting one. And so Croatia and me, who just also visited the Croatian minority in Vojvodina in Serbia, and who also visited, I had the opportunity to meet my counterpart and foreign minister of Serbia, and Marko Đurić, and we had a good talks, and so the diplomacy and the open channels of communication must be open steadily. Even during the Homeland War, and my president, former President Tudjman, and so the President Milosevic, who was in Croatia, was a victim, and great Serbian aggression led by Milosevic, and they were culprit. But however, we had talks, and we should have to have talks. And but in this regard, back to your question, so that rather than calculating about the intentions and of the politicians and their statements in Serbia, just to be in the focus, and it's more useful to how to find observable policy and politics to be on a focus to find a common ground and cooperation and communications. So Croatia sees, we established actually our tool, or politician tool, diplomatic, is just so to be resilient and to calm down, so such as inflammatory rhetoric, and never from which side it comes. Because Croatia is in a focus on the European principles, on our security, on our the social life of our people in Croatia, and to be really a part of international community, and to show solidarity with those in Ukraine, and of course to also to take part in how to to solve the problems and negative implication or repercussion of the situation in the Middle East. First of all, that affects our citizens with the prices, how to reduce prices. And when it comes to the Serbia, it's our interest to have, first of all, it's the interest of both sides, Croatia and Serbia, despite the legacy of war, which also Serbia also should face the history. And we mentioned about, we discussed about the open issues, which are not only bilateral nature. First of all, as I mentioned, it's a legacy war, and there was a willingness from the Serbian side to start with negotiations in the return of archive from Serbia, with the establishing the commission, so to start actually, although they are already established from both sides, and commission for missing persons. Croatia still is searching for 1,742 missing persons, and to start negotiation on the open border issues. And of course, it was good news that Serbian side proposed to hold this intergovernmental committee on minority issues. So they are good news. And Croatia, despite all the situation and what the other tell and talk, so that we just show our resilience, and we thought to be introduced in such rhetoric and also battle wars, and no matter where these wars are coming from. Well, as you mentioned also, for example, declaration, and I also explained that so many times, declaration is just on the paper or statement between the Albania and Croatia and Kosovo. course, Croatia and Albania are members of NATO, and so we stick to our NATO principles and conditions, and just in the declaration, and having in mind that Croatia also has there are soldiers in KFOR and in Kosovo. That's a declaration on which is actually a positive way. But on the contrary, with Serbia, we signed a very comprehensive agreement in 2009. We defined all the matters of the cooperation in military and so on. It's 5 or 6 pages, and very, very, very detailed, and explained the form of a framework of our cooperation. And it's not just something that could make a concern about it. It's only a declaration, as everywhere is declaration could be. In Serbia, there is a large Croatian minority, and about 60,000 people there, and they are happy when the Croatian government, so be it the foreign minister or the others, are there, and to encourage them. And it's also a good opportunity if the Serbian minister is there, because they are citizens of Serbia, and but of Croatian nationality. So I see that we have to have an open channels of communication, and to invest politically, diplomatically in our relations. And we want to see, and also not only in Serbia, but also the other countries in the Western Balkans, all the 6 countries, the Western Balkans, to be part of the European Union, but so differently, and it's merit-based approach, and according to the individual achievements. And we really commend the progress made by Albania and Montenegro, and of course we want to see Bosnia and Herzegovina very soon to start negotiations with European Union. And North Macedonia, for example, it's paradoxically they started negotiations even before Croatia started, and unfortunately later on happened what happened. And of course we wanted also the European perspective on both Kosovo and Serbia.
If I may, since you just mentioned the situation or the talks with Bosnia,
and Herzegovina.
In Herzegovina, yeah. I'm sorry. Bosnia and Herzegovina. The EU just stalled investments or payments from the growth fund for the Western Balkans, for Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also for Serbia. But what do you see, what could unblock this? I mean, it's €1 billion that is at stake for a very small country like Bosnia. It's a lot of money. What could, if you could answer this quite quickly, what could unblock this?
So it's up to the leaders and the political leaders, political actors in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We support, of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina, but we cannot interfere in Bosnia and Herzegovina affairs, because it's up to them to find a common solution in the interest of the citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina. We want to see in Bosnia and Herzegovina as a member of EU, probably if they want to be a member also of NATO, to in prosperity, in peace, in stability. Stability of Bosnia and Herzegovina is also in the interest of Republic of Croatia. We share the longest border with Bosnia and Herzegovina. Even on 8th of June, we signed a very agreement, my Prime Minister and the lady, the President, the Chairwoman of the Council of Ministers, a very historical agreement on the border controls and in both points in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
1,009 kilometers.
You
share.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And for us, it's very important to have to improve traffic infrastructure, to be connected well with Bosnia and Herzegovina. You know that 2 months ago here, even in Dubrovnik, the Croatian Prime Minister and Borjana Krišto, they signed an agreement on the South interconnection. Also the Foreign Minister Almedin Konakovic was also there. For us, it's energy diversification, and in Bosnia and Herzegovina, very important, and just not to be dependent on Russian gas and oil. So it's our task, it's our homework, and having in mind that Croatia is an energy hub, and so given our geopolitical position, it's very, very important, and so that we do see that very responsible and for us and for our region.
Thank you very much. Minister Kunakovic, since we talk about Bosnia, the German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said in the context of the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine, quote, "Without security, everything else is nothing." The Russian ambassador to BRH, Igor Kalabukhov, threatened BRH twice on BRH TV with the Ukraine scenario, should BRH get closer to NATO. Of course, since recently there's also growing problems with regard to the international community's engagement in Bosnia. High Representative Schmidt is leaving, as we all know, and so forth. So the situation is, one could say, getting less stable. For the last 20 years, as I said, the genocide denier Milorad Dodik is threatening even BRH's existing by repeatedly passing legislation that would lead to secession of Republika Srpska. What do you think is now needed to counter these challenges and problems with regard to security for your country?
First of all, it's really needed that European Union, USA, and other partners and allies, that they understand what is really happening in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Like I will start with the growth plan, with the fund. Like it's blocked by secessionists. It's blocked by the same people that are blocking European path of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's easy if you want to see. Just open your eyes. It is Mr. Amidžić, Minister of Finance, controlled by Dodik, who is, by the way, controlled by Moscow, is blocking this fund. They don't want to take the money. Dodik went out publicly and he said, I don't want European money. I will take some loans and I will pay like 6-7% of rates, but I don't want to take European money and I don't want to go to European Union. That's the first fact. The other one, he's the most dangerous guy, not only for Bosnia, he's the most dangerous guy for the whole region. He's still calling for secession, and if he thinks that he can take the bones from Srebrenica with him, like in some new country in the region without conflict, that's impossible. So we're going to have a war again in Bosnia-Herzegovina if he goes officially for secession. It was an attempt from USA administration to de-escalate. They had some agreement with Dodik, and it's a true. Like he deleted all these illegal laws, non-constitutional laws. He was in only one day. Actually, he deleted all these laws, and he traded actually this agreement for him for his financial freedom. And then they actually removed the sanction on Milorad Dodik. But he's doing the same thing again. He's calling for secession. He's officially going for secession, and it is really dangerous. I will underline this, not only for Bosnia-Herzegovina, but for the whole region. This is, now we have a crisis. It's not an ethnical crisis at this moment, and it is a different crisis than before. Now it's geopolitical crisis. It is a guy completely controlled by Moscow. It is a guy who participated in the last parade in May, and he had official meeting with Putin. This is the 8th official meeting in a year and a half. And he went out publicly announcing that Russia is the strongest partner of Republika Srpska. That's the entity inside of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And if you close your eyes, it will say, okay, go guys and agree about this growth plan, about these laws. That's impossible because of Dayton Agreement of Bosnia-Herzegovina, which actually allows to anyone who wants to block easily. It's easy to be destructive in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We have this Russian proxy blocking European future of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and it is a still like call from you, okay guys, go and deliver. How? Someone needs to tell us really how. The stability is really important. We defended our country in '92. We were left alone. We were left to die. The genocide was committed in United Nations protected zone, and we defended our country. We will defend country again. But really, now to talk about war or to talk about conflict when we have at the same time, this is the situation, it's not so easy to explain. On the other side, the biggest opportunities ever. Finally, European Union is, let's say, correct regarding enlargement. Growth plan is excellent story. Gradual integration is a great story for our economy. And now we have also Serbs in Bosnia-Herzegovina promoting the future of Bosnia-Herzegovina inside of European Union. They propose these two European laws that we need to adopt before we start negotiations, and we have them on the other side. They don't follow Dodik anymore. It's complexive, so that's the reason why I call, again, European Union to action.
I'm sorry, you're referring to other parties in Republika Srpska, not Dodik's SNSD.
Not Dodik's SNSD.
From politicians from other
Two
parties.
strongest opposition party, they proposed 2-3 months ago European laws that we need to adopt before we start negotiations. They were at the same time, actually, the one of them was beaten in the front of his house. They're suffering also together with all of us. The other one, they burned his car for the second time, Vukanovic. Borenovic was attacked in front of his house. This is a Dodik's regime supported by Moscow, still surviving in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Also on the other side, we have elections now. It is a time for populists and radicals. I need to say this also, we have these people in Zagreb also. We have some people drawing new maps in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We have some people calling for the third entity in Bosnia-Herzegovina, putting really, raising the tensions before the elections, and I understand them. They don't know how to deliver. They don't know how to help to the citizens. They go before the elections and promising everything. Where they cannot deliver, then they are hiding behind this, let's say populist or more radicalism curtains, and they're actually raising the tensions. This is really dangerous, because you know what happened 30 years ago in Bosnia-Herzegovina. It's possible again if we don't control this situation. We need to control it all together. We have serious messages from Serbia. We had some small talk, debate in Antalya during the panel when Mr. President Vučić was talking about the strongest army in the region. On his left side was convicted criminal Milorad Dodik. On his right side was Željko Cvijanović, member of the presidency of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And he was sending the message about strongest army, and we know that actually we suffered a lot from the same army 30 years ago. So it is a time that we need to align ourselves all together. These, let's say, progressive people, progressive parties, progressive politicians, but we need the support from European Union in the first place. Americans, of course, they should stay with the region.
Thank you. You had a number of pretty heated debates with your Serbian counterparts, for example, in the Security Council of the United Nations. When you talk to them one-on-one, to the diplomats and also to the politicians, is that different, or is there any room for reconciliation between Belgrade and Sarajevo?
Reconciliation means that you need to accept the facts. If you want to talk about reconciliation, you need to accept international court decisions. I will say again the example of my people, actually, because we never celebrated war criminals and crimes. If anyone is convicted for the war crimes and criminals, you can never see politicians from Bosniak side celebrating those war criminals and crimes. That's the way to reconciliation. It's not like, you need to accept some other reality and then we can continue. We still have, like Serbia, protecting war crimes and criminals, hiding them and celebrating them. One of them is the worst criminal in the region, Novak Djukic, who is responsible and convicted for the death of young people in Kapia and Tuzla. And let me be honest, they're the same. They don't talk behind the scene differently. They don't recognize that genocide happened. They don't recognize they killed a lot of people. Ratko Mladic was a general of Yugoslav army at that time, not of the army of Republika Srpska. So I don't know, something is happening, something is bad, but I'll go back. Now in Bosnia-Herzegovina, this conflict, this crisis, probably the biggest crisis after the Dayton, is more geopolitical than ethnical. I have another example. I have a guy, I was soldier during the war. I was defending my country. I was minor, but I was on the front line. It was a guy on the other side. He's now a president of the House of Representatives. He's coming from SDS party. He was on the other side. We're literally trying to kill each other for 4 years. Today, we are trying to find solutions for our kids. And he's looking into the future, and he was the one proposing these laws, so it's possible. It's possible, but we have these players like destructive, let's say, players still calling for conflict because they cannot deliver. They cannot deliver what they promised during the campaigns, but not only that. Of course, we know about the plans about big Serbia story, about some dangerous plans in the region that actually are threatening to the whole region, and we are still sleeping with the one eye open.
Thank you very much, Minister. And it's nice that you also, that there is some positive changes on the Serb side. I mean, in
May I
the
just
Republic
comment,
of Srpska.
just small one, important one,
Yeah,
positive
it's
momentum
important.
from Croat side also. We have done 3 big things in the last few months. The first one was Southern Interconnection, which is a great project between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. The other one is this border cross agreement, which is excellent agreement for Bosnia and Herzegovina. It opens the space to Izačić and some other parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina blocked before. And the third one is this one law on foreigners, which allows our truck drivers actually to stay longer in European Union. This is a official communication, institutional cooperation, but on the other side we have a people proposing some bad ideas, let's say, at the moment. But finally, we are waiting official positions of Zagreb and Belgrade to have our own position. But I want to underline these 3 positive examples. It's possible. Also, on the other side, it's not okay to threaten to constitutional order of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's not legal at the end.
Thank you very much. Minister Ibrahimovic, we have something positive, more positive than conflict and tensions in the Balkans. Your country, Montenegro, has opened all 33 negotiation chapters with the European Union for accession. Just some days ago, 2 additional chapters have been closed, which brings the total number of closed chapters to 16. Can you please elaborate on this process, especially when do you foresee all the remaining chapters to be closed, and what are the main obstacles? Which factors could accelerate and which could slow down the accession process?
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be in beautiful Dubrovnik. It's a great honor to be on this panel. And dear Gordon, thank you for your warm hospitality. Montenegro has demonstrated throughout the accession process that it is capable of adapting to evolving circumstances while maintaining a clear strategic direction. During almost 14 years of negotiation, we have successfully adjusted to different enlargement methodologies, aligned our internal policies and institutions with the evolving requirements of the accession process, and consistently delivered reform despite changing political context. One thing, however, this never changed: our strategic priority. There has always been a broad understanding that there is no alternative to European Union membership. The European path is not merely a foreign policy objective. It is our overall societal transformation agenda. The recent closure of the 2 additional negotiated chapters, bringing the total to 16 provisional closed chapters, represent another important milestone. Our objective remains clear: to complete the negotiation process within the established time frame and become the next EU member state in 2028. This ambitious is realistic, provided the reform momentum is maintained on both sides. The message delivered by EU leaders at the recent summit in Tivat were particularly encouraging. They sent a clear political signal that enlargement is a strategic priority for the European Union, and Montenegro is recognized as the front runner in this process. Such encouragement also brings responsibility. It requires an even stronger engagement of the entire state administration, institutions, and political actors. Montenegro is fully determined to deliver on all remaining benchmarks and complete its obligation with credibility and efficiency. Looking ahead, the key factors that could accelerate our accession are continuing reform implementation, preservation of political consensus around the European agenda, and sustained credibility of the enlargement policy itself. A predictable, merit-based process remains the strongest incentive for reforms. At the same time, we should remain aware of the potential challenges. These include external pressure by third countries seeking to undermine the European perspective of the Western Balkans, as well as the unnecessary introduction of bilateral or politically motivated issues that do not belong to the accession process. The enlargement process should continue to be guided by objective criteria, merit and Copenhagen principles. Montenegro's membership is not only in the interest of Montenegro, it is in the strategic interest of the entire region and of the European Union. Successfully completing Montenegro's accession would demonstrate that enlargement remains a credible policy, that reforms are rewarded, and that the EU continues to be a transformative force in Europe. Finally, Montenegro can serve as a model of successful enlargement policy, as a proof that commitment, reforms, and partnership with the European Union deliver concrete results. By completing Montenegro accession, we would create positive momentum for the entire region and reinforce the credibility of the European project at a time when Europe needs unity, resilience, and strategic vision more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you too, Minister. With regard to the issue or the incident that I mentioned in the beginning at the Tivat airport, is there anything you can tell us about it, some background? Is your law enforcement agencies, have they found out something? What was intended, or what was the purpose of this?
It's important that the EU Western Balkans Summit succeed. And we got with high-level president and prime minister deliver a great message that enlargement policy is alive, and Montenegro is most advanced candidate. Unfortunately, we live in a time when European values and democratic institutions are increasingly challenged. Across Europe, and particularly in our region, hybrid threats, disinformation, attempts to undermine democratic processes have become part of our everyday reality. Western Balkans still faces political and ideological structures that promote division instead of reconciliation and cooperation. Through various methods, including hybrid activities and coordinated influence operations, these actors seek not only to weaken Montenegro institution and its European trajectory, but also to undermine the credibility of the EU enlargement policy itself. The incident you referred to should be viewed in that broader context. It represents another attempt to slow down Montenegro's European progress, and I share Prime Minister Spajić's assessment that this development cannot be analyzed in isolation from the wider political environment in which they occur. The competent Montenegrin institution reacted promptly and professionally. Measures prescribed by law were implemented efficiently, demonstrating that Montenegro has both the institutional capacity and the political will to protect its legal order and public security. From the perspective of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, it was equally important not to allow this incident to overshadow the strategic success of the EU Western Balkans Summit in Tivat. There was an obvious intention to divert attention from the positive political messages that emerged from the summit and to create unnecessary disruption. We did not allow that to happen. The focus remained where it belonged, on Montenegro's European achievements and on the renewed momentum for enlargement. As for the reaction for the Serbia, it came primarily through statement by the highest official addresses. In overview, this statement we convinced that did not contribute to strengthen mutual trust or good neighboring relation. Montenegro remains committed to maintaining constructive dialogue with all its neighbors, including Serbia, on the basis of mutual respect, sovereignty, and the principle of the international law. Looking ahead, I sincerely hope that the future will bring progress for every country in our region. The Western Balkans deserve a future built on European cooperation rather than our division. It is time for political actors to leave behind the oceans and projects they have for decades, product, conflict, suffering, and instability, and instead fully embrace the values of peace, reconciliation, and European integration. Thank you.
Thank you too, Minister. Minister Hoxha, As I mentioned, the trilateral military cooperation agreement of 2025 between Albania, Croatia, and Kosovo has been criticized by Serbian President Vučić, first as a provocation and lately as a preparation for an attack on Serbia. Exactly 2 years ago, the Serbian newspaper Politika accused both Sarajevo and Pristina of planning an assault on Belgrade. What has been your response to these accusations, and how are the actual bilateral relations between Albania and Serbia?
Thank you very much. First, Gordon, thank you very much for this invitation and for this hospitality. It is indeed the first time for me to be here, but I recognize that this is really one of the platforms for discussion, sharing thoughts, analysis on the current trends in the region, Europe, and the world. Now, it is not an agreement. It is a memorandum of cooperation. It's a 2-page document. And it deals with 4 specific areas which have to do with training, interoperability, cybersecurity, and of course accompanying Kosovo as the youngest country in the Western Balkans to really build their institutions, including in the area of defense. Now you have 2 members of NATO who are predictable, whose policies are open and transparent, who deal with the rules of NATO that are established, that are known. So I don't see where the provocation is there. Now, I don't see how that document that is meant to accompany the youngest country in the Western Balkans to really improve institutions, just like others have done for Albania. We have been very thankful and grateful to everyone who helped Albania in the last 30 years. It is our duty now to do the same for those who are probably a little bit behind. And as I said, Kosovo being the youngest country in the Western Balkans need this help. This is all it is about. Now, calling it as a provocation, calling it as a threat, I think this is absolutely overblown. Because, I mean, I don't want to go back in history and say that in the history of Albania and Albanians, there has never been an attack on others. The opposite is already established, but still, let's not bring history because otherwise we don't get out of it. But what we are doing with Kosovo, as Gordon mentioned, is trying to see how we can really join forces in trying to help and be as cooperative as possible in every area, including on defense. So, frankly, we do not respond to those accusations or statements. We think that they are not worth responding because still we need to find the shred of proof that this is really a threat to anyone. That agreement is not a threat for Serbia or for anyone else. It's just a framework of cooperation as it can be in other areas. And we will try and do our best really, not only to explain all the time, to be cool-headed, because it's very easy to have those inflammatory rhetorics. And of course, our region doesn't need that kind of language. Our region needs something else. Our region needs understanding. Our region needs cooperation. Our region needs that every does its piece to reinforce bilateral, multilateral cooperation, and of course, move the whole region towards the European Union. This is our approach, and we will stick to it. Now, on the relations with Serbia, there is one fundamental issue on which we disagree profoundly, and that's Kosovo. And we meet with the Serbian representatives at all levels, and of course, when we discuss on this, we have totally different views. But then we do not let that issue be the only issue between us. So we, while we disagree on this, while we disagree on other issues as well, because we are aligned 100% with the common foreign security policy of the European Union. So we impose sanctions on Russia. So we have a vision of the cooperation. As I said, we have the best possible relationship, bilateral relationship with every country in the Western Balkans. We try to really have also the best possible relations, normal relations with Serbia. There are areas where we can cooperate, and we explore those areas. There are areas where we probably join in terms of connectivity in the region, in terms of tourism cooperation. 5 years ago, nobody would have imagined that 135 100,000 Serbs would come to Albania, enjoy this hospitality, see that there's absolutely no animosity towards them or anyone, so that everybody is welcome if they really come to enjoy and behave by the rules. So this is extremely important, and what we are telling to everybody, including to our Serbian counterparts, is that we need to invest into people-to-people contacts so that we move and look at the future, and that we cannot build by looking at the past. This is our approach, and we will stick to that. It's their choice to conduct their policies. Where we agree, we will continue. Where we will disagree, we'll make it very clear.
Thank you very much, and also thank you very much that you bring up this positive example. You meant 136,000 tourists from Serbia, yeah?
Last year only.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yep.
Thank you. One quick question, if I may, with regard to the relations with the United States. I mean, we all heard about what is happening or what is planned to construct in Albania, the tourism resort, and the demonstrations, of course. And of course also that Kosovo, Albania and also Kosovo have joined the President Trump's Board of Peace, is one of few European nations. And of course you are an accession candidate and you are negotiating with Brussels about full membership. How do you balance these two factors?
Well,
Well,
good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We heard this morning by Minister Tajani, and I will repeat it, that transatlantic relations and European policies, in our case European accession path, are absolutely two sides of the coin. We have excellent relations with the United States, and we have absolutely excellent relations with the European Union, member states, and of course institutions. Our national goal is to join the European Union, and just like Montenegro, we have opened all the chapters of the 33. We have met the EBARs. We are now in the final phase of closing chapters. And we will continue to follow that path. This is our national goal, and it's our intention, it's our plan, which is supported by the European Union, to possibly close. This is our ambition. All the chapters by 2027. And of course, to be able to join the European Union in the horizon of 2030. So this is our policy. Now, on the other side, the relations that we have with the United States are absolutely relations that we have had historically with them. And of course, I mean, if we had more time, I would have explained how important it is for us to have those relations, because the United States have been always supporting Albanian independence. Of course, they were crucial when the time was needed for NATO intervention in Kosovo, and of course, I'm sure you're absolutely familiar with that. But also, they have been supportive of our European Union drive as well. Whenever we were doing reforms and we were complying with the requirements and commitments in the European Union path, the United States were always supportive. So we don't see them not supporting that path, and we are in touch with them. And of course, it's absolutely the same vision. Now, on the very specific issue of the investment, this is a foreign investment like any other one. Would there have been a European country? It comes this time. Actually, it's not really a U.S. investment. It is because, I mean, the real investors are from another country, from the Gulf country. But of course, European interested parties are associated to that. But we see that absolutely as part of the development needs and plans of Albania. If you want me to enter into that and to say that it is absolutely one of the best examples, that we will make an example of that by harmonizing the need and the hunger of my country for development in general and for development of high-end tourist installations, given the very important part of tourism in our industry. You certainly know that we had last year 12.6 million tourists from everywhere in the world.
That's remarkable. Yeah.
This year, for the 5 first months, it's 8% increase. So the need is huge, and we can respond to that need by doing what we need to do, meaning that by providing capacity, by providing better services, by maintaining hospitality, by making sure that everybody who comes to Albania enjoys, and they come back with friends and family and everybody. But also we need to also balance a little bit about, massive and popular tourism with that niche that is also needed, and of course that requires a lot of investments. So we're not going to refuse any investment that comes and is done by the laws, by national and international, in this case international being the European commitments that we have taken. So this is what we're doing, so that we want to make that as an example of the best balance of development and protection in Albania.
Well, thank you very much, Minister. We're now moving a bit to Brussels, to Mrs. Zhenya Zovko from the European Parliament. The Parliament has been, in its reports, pretty critical of the situation, what is going on again in Serbia. The last reports were pretty extensive and painted a rather dark picture of what is going on there. Now also the Commission has for the first time criticized the Serbian government, namely High Representative and Vice President Kaja Kallas, but also Enlargement Commissioner Marta Kos, due to the situation, what is going on in Serbia, especially with the judiciary, the so-called Mrdic laws. And the European People's Party also, the European People's Party launched an investigation into the SNS in Serbia. What do you think, Mrs. Zovko, should the EU do to put, let's say, Serbia back on track to the back on track on the negotiation access negotiations with Brussels?
Right, thank you very much for this question, and thank you for accepting me to replace my colleague Stier, who was supposed to be on this panel as a head of Bosnia and Herzegovina delegation.
Thank you for joining.
So I would go back to unjustly undermined Bosnia and Herzegovina on this panel. And this is just to answer the question as a member of Western Balkan Investment Framework, and I'm also co-rapporteur for IPA funds and for Reform and Growth Plan mechanism. I would like to just reply to the previous question that you asked, what is needed in Bosnia and Herzegovina to unblock the money that will be taken away. If it doesn't happen, these are two crucial laws that can pass in this moment before it's too late, before Bosnia and Herzegovina is punished, and it's incredible situation that we still don't have appointment of negotiator for IPA funds.
Exactly.
And Bosnia and Herzegovina has already lost 100 million euros because of the failure of ruling partners to make the agreement. We are not talking about opposition. Opposition in any country is opposition. They are there to criticize, but we are here to call the government and the ruling parties to reply why they have not agreed on a IPA negotiator, and why is this the issue of discussion until the last moment because of the personality issue. We are hoping that at this moment we will have this procedure done through at least one of the houses, because you cannot change the players at the last moment before the elections. So this coalition needs to do this in order to show to their citizens that they need European path, and they need to also open negotiations with European Union. I will just remind you that last plenary session in Strasbourg, we had a mishmash of discussion on Western Balkan reports, where Montenegro, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo were all put on pile, and I was really furious that we had to discuss in the same time electoral law reform in Bosnia and Herzegovina with flamingos in Albania. And it was so ridiculous. And I mean, even now, Serbia is taking a part of the discussion. Serbia is left for the second panel. Serbia is not the case, and they're discussing Serbia to have a separate discussion. So I would not give so much importance on what is going on in Serbia. I would say, like, each country should do their own soul searching and should do also their part of the duties, at least while they're in the government. especially the people who are in the power and who are running the show and in foreign relations as well. So Bosnia and Herzegovina is in critical position to lose much more than any other country.
I think 900 million at
Yes,
stake.
and the problem is, we have to call the spade that Bosnia and Herzegovina is because of this actual composition that has to approve this law through the Council of Ministers, and we know who is in the Council of Ministers. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, there's no love or between the politicians. There's only interest. So they have to find interest among themselves and not to choose.
But not only in Bosnia, I would say.
No, but not to choose suitable partners. Because suitable partners will be chosen by the people. I mean, their representatives. But what we need there is politicians who will be responsible of the decisions that they did not take. And this is the case that we have to really address here at this panel. So I would say Marta Kos is doing her best at this moment, as well as us in European Parliament, to help to unblock this situation. And also Croatia is doing that with Prime Minister Plenković. He was yesterday here with Borina Krišto and with Dragan Čović, and they were addressing this issue, how to save in the last minute Bosnia and Herzegovina, not to lose this necessary money and to start open negotiating process that for Bosnia and Herzegovina is a crucial issue. Not war rhetoric, not glorifying of war criminals that we have seen Željko Komšić is doing with Alagić and financing the monument that he has done in Vlašić. And, so many undiscovered war memories in Bosnia and Herzegovina that we are not addressing here. This is not the place to discuss war memories. This is the place and what is at stake. This is a place really to see how we can help this country to find its way forward, to use this money to strengthen its capacity, administrative capacity, and to finally catch up with Montenegro, with Albania, with even North Macedonia, because Bosnia and Herzegovina is in dire need of common sense.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sofko. Mrs. Hartmann, the Franco-German non-paper on the Western Balkans named A New Momentum for the Balkans speaks about gradual integration before EU membership, full EU membership. How promising and realistic is this? What do you think?
First of all, let me also thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here and represent my country as an EU member. We in Austria, we very much support these ideas of gradual integration, because the concept of gradual integration isn't new. I mean, we've had this integration already for a couple of years. It was our previous minister who came up with the idea. But we have seen that we proceed relatively slowly with this. So with this new non-paper, there is the idea of extending this gradual integration into areas of the internal market. And I think this is exactly the right thing to do. So we are definitely discussing, not only discussing, but we of course will discuss in Brussels about this. Mm-hmm. Let me say one thing clear. Gradual integration from the very beginning has never been thought as an alternative to full membership. So this is sometimes at least a misunderstanding. So this is exactly what it is. It's gradual, but it's of course full membership, which is the goal. Why do we have this concept? Because let me remind the whole process for the Western Balkans goes back to Thessaloniki. So it's 23 years.
Yeah.
And the methodology we have in place, it means, you know, it's a very long process, and the real benefits of EU can be enjoyed only at the date and the day of accession, not before. So the idea is that whenever in certain areas the candidate country has aligned to the EU acquis, why shouldn't then already the citizens of the candidate country already enjoy the benefits? So they also get the feeling what the EU really means. But it's not only for the citizens, it's also for the decision makers. We have hundreds of council meetings, of ministers' meetings in various areas. And decisions are taken there in various areas how the EU should work and function in the future. So why not also include ministers of the candidate countries to give their voice without voting? Because of course they're not the members yet. But why shouldn't they also discuss? Because they will be affected by the future decisions in these areas. So all these ideas we completely subscribe to. But as usual, it's one thing to have a good concept, and the second thing then to make it operative. So we hope that together with the support of the Commission, to take out areas where we can have good examples, so that especially citizens really feel the benefit, what EU in reality means. And one more thing about this, I think it's extremely important to have the proper communication. The communication from the EU side, but also from the candidate country side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hartmann. Secretary General Kapitanovic, we heard some positive examples and also some negative examples of the situation in the region. The aim of the Regional Cooperation Council is the European, or advancing the European Atlantic integration. Can you tell us a bit about your work and problems and also positive examples that you encounter?
Well, thank you very much. I would like also to use the opportunity to thank Minister Gerlich Radman for inviting me to the Dubrovnik Forum and for great hospitality, of course. I'm not a big fan of singling out all regional problems to one country or one individual. It is really complex, and we have to be aware of that. When it comes to our role, to be as plastic as possible, I would compare it to river delta. It looks like a dead water, but it is flowing. There are sediments, there are some channels, some of them are blocked, some of them are open. Our role in that river delta to manage it somehow is to build, to actually remove clogs, to remove the barriers, to keep everyone on board. And this is exactly because the question here is, what is the cost of non-cooperation in the region? Cost is not only absence of cooperation. Cost is our inability to shape our future. And that is a dire cost, let alone economic one. That's why I'm comparing it with, so that people can understand that we have a movement with some clarity, we have ambiguity without collapse, and we have progress without acceleration. This is our state of play, because we could have heard that there are some open problems. But our role is there to keep it flowing, and to keep it flowing to European Union ocean. And that's why we came up with the Common Regional Market Action Plan. That's why we've been pioneering gradual integration into EU single market long time ago. That's why we have managed to come up with the roaming agreement in the Western Balkans to meet the preconditions for roam like at home between the Western Balkans and the European Union. That's showing concrete people-oriented deliverables to the people so that they can see that what we are doing all together is not abstract. There are some results. SEPA as well, green lanes and so on and so forth. This is actually our achievement, but not only ours. thanks to governments, thanks to all 6 governments in the Western Balkans, and we have managed to establish this cooperative mode against many odds, many disagreements. Some of them we could have, we hear constantly. The title of this panel is, I think, very important. Unfinished business in the Balkans. First and foremost, what are the unfinished business in the Balkans? I will take it from the side that we have not finished the accession of the region into the EU. If we want really to do that, we have to move from open-ended process to structured completion. To replace ambiguity with sequencing, conditionality with delivery, and waiting room politics with gradual integration. I think this is something that we have to structure it in sequence. That's why we see, and I see, this offer of, through different non-papers, probably we have too many non-papers these days, but okay, I mean, probably it's good to have good and fresh ideas, in order to move the process forward in a very sensitive geopolitical moment. Mm-hmm. Because previously, we have been, when it comes to enlargement, in someday mode. It will happen someday. We cannot wait someday. We have to act now. The best way to act now is actually to have this incremental approach which starts now. But there are a couple of difficulties that we have to take into equation. First, I think that the EU should start treating the Western Balkans as the third countries. B, we have to also, when we speak about gradual integration into EU single market, there are some obstacles in legal architecture that we have to be aware of, that we need to remove. I can tell you even examples if you want through roaming, but we don't have that much time. And of course, what is also very important, it is important for my organization, but it is important for every single government that is sitting in the board of my organization, to maintain the level playing field in the regional cooperation. If Montenegro joins by 28, we still need, because Montenegro is not leaving the region, they are joining the EU, but they will remain. Geography, you cannot change. We have to continue having regional cooperation, and the regional cooperation cannot be only reduced to technical issues of enlargement, but also geoeconomy, strategic autonomy of European Union, and so on and so forth. So this is, sorry for kind of putting so many things at once, but this is how we see the challenges, and how we see that we need to kind of embrace this new reality and embark on the new dynamic together, of course, and that's why it is important to have all governments on board. It is important. That's why RCC is a platform that can accommodate everyone. Despite two differences, there are many differences about the history. Probably some of them will never agree about some historical facts. But still, that does not necessarily mean that we should not sit together and cooperate, because when we did so, we managed to have some concrete results, and we have it as the fact.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Excellencies, thank you very much for your participation. Thank the audience. I thank the audience for the interest. Apologize for being 10 minutes late. Just to wrap it up in one sentence, I think today we learned a lot. I also learned a lot, that not everything is black and white. There are a lot of challenges and problems, but there are also solutions. And we heard, I'm really glad that we also heard some really encouraging and positive examples today. Thank you all very much, and have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you, bye-bye.